Now I'm going to take the square root of both sides. 0 equals x minus 11, and then I'm going to add 11 to both sides. So the last one, ladies and gentlemen, I came up with 2 numbers. How come this one I only came up with 1? There was no, because the square root of 0, is there 2 answers? There's only 0, can only be the square root of 0, right? Okay, it has no negative component. Okay, so this one's a little bit tricky. We already graphed that point. That's my vertex. Well, I need at least 2 more points. Okay, so I've got my x value, my y value. I know my vertex is 11, 0. Let's try 10. And this is when you get out your calculator. We're going to go -3/16 times 10 minus 11 squared. And we're going to end up with -3/16. Well, let's make that into a decimal. -0.187. 75. All right, well, I know 12 is going to be the same thing. How do I know 12 is going to be the same thing? Because 11, 0 is the vertex, right? And they're the same on both sides. All right, well, that looks really crazy. Let's try it, though. We've got 10, and we know we're below the x-axis. We've got 12, and we know we're below the x-axis. So it's going to look like this. Okay, so we've discussed 3 different options. We can have 0 roots, not any roots. We can have 1 root, just like this problem. Or we can have 2 roots. Your homework is going to be just like this. Well, and a lot of them are decimals. So let's try one where we get some decimals. Let's look at, do you want to go backwards maybe? Why don't we look at 3?
I don't get what you put in the table for 2.
For which one?
Number 2.
Number 2. Okay, if I'm looking at number 2, you didn't have to make a table. Because it gave you, to make a parabola, you only need 3 points. You need the vertex, and then the 2 roots. So for all of these, if you have 2 roots and a vertex, you just have to do it. And we're going to do number 3, which is just like that one, okay? All right, so let's look at number 3. All right. So we're going to have to make a funky scale because this is a big number. But first of all, can somebody tell me what the vertex is and if it's going to open up or down? -966, and it's going to go down because A equals -6. So let's look at the scale first because I know you guys hate adjusting the scale. We're going to count by what? We've got 66 we've got to hit on here, and maybe above. We've got 10 of these. What do you want to count by? Yes, Jasmine?
All right, so you determine when it's down when the first number is a negative or a positive. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure. That's what I would do. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100.
What do you do with the negative number?
Because it's the opposite of what's in the inside. All right. So my next step, ladies and gentlemen, we've found the vertex. We've set the scale. How do we find the roots or the zeros or where it crosses the x-axis? We're going to plug in what? We're going to plug in 0 for what letter? Y. So the first thing we're going to do is subtract 66 from both sides. And we get negative 66 equals negative 6 times x plus 9 squared. My next step is to divide by negative 6. I get 11 equals x plus 9 squared. So what do you think, guys, at this point? Am I going to get 1 root, 0 roots, or 2 roots? And how do I know? Is this number positive? So if this number was negative, how many roots would I get? None. If this was 0, how many roots would I get? 1. If it's positive, you get 2. So let's look at that again. If it's negative, we get none. If it's 0, we get, and if it's positive, we get. All right, so we're going to square root both sides. Uh-oh. We've got 11. Is 11 a perfect square? No, so we're going to get a crazy decimal. What's wrong with your calculator? Try putting square root of 11.0. Okay, so I get 3.31662 equals x plus 9. Now, do I have just 3.31662? What else should I have? Negative, good. Excuse me? No. Okay, now we're going to subtract 9 from both sides. So I get minus 9. Because you know a negative times a negative can also be a positive. So we know 3.131662 times itself is 11. But negative times a negative, so this times itself, is also 11. Okay, good questions. So x is approximately negative 5.68. So there's 1 root.
You guys should be writing this down.
And we're going to subtract 9 from this side. And we're going to get negative is approximately, that means we're rounding, negative 12.3166. Let's round it to negative 12.32. All right, let's graph it now. Now, do you guys see how we have 3 points here? We have 2 roots, and we have the vertex. So we don't have to make a table for these. Okay. So we go to negative 9. So we're going to say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up to 66. So I'm putting it between 60 and 70. Then I've got x is negative 5.6, so I go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's between 5 and 6. Okay, and then I need to go over negative 12. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to add 2 more points because it's easiest for me. And I'm going to go just past that 12. There's my graph. All right. So let's assign some homework here. I don't think you should have to do all 28, do you?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. How about you have to do the whole front? I did problems 1, 2, 3, and 5. So out of 14, I did problems 1, 2, 3, and 5. So that means you have 6 problems for homework.
Yeah.
Okay? So the whole front's got to be done. You got to make sure you have my stuff on there as well as yours.
Aw.